Hi, and welcome to the first video interview on the Thrifty Philanthropist. I'm Erin Davidson, and I'm here with Chris Burnett from Melbourne SOUP, who's going to tell us all about it. So thank you very much for coming today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from Aberdeen in Scotland. I've been out in Melbourne since the end of October, so just over 7 months now. At the moment, I'm working at Social Traders. So all in the social enterprise space to do with social procurement, so linking up social enterprises with businesses and governments that want to buy from social enterprises. So my day-to-day involves speaking to social enterprises and essentially recruiting them to be certified. So we have a certification and it's taking them through that. And then I guess all the other time is spent on Melbourne SOUP. I play futsal on Mondays. We've got a little team going from our house. And I'm quite into board games as well, so I go to a regular board games night. But yeah, a lot of time is spent doing Melbourne SOUP, so lunch breaks, straight after work, I'm just into firing off emails and working out, planning the next event, so yeah.
Cool. And how would you, if anyone who's not aware already, how would you define a social enterprise?
Yeah, so social enterprise to me, and it's worth pointing out that there are a number of different definitions. To me, it's a business that's achieving social good, if we just take it down to the right core foundation. So they are businesses and they function as businesses, and they're out to make revenue and trade. And what they're doing with that revenue is putting it towards a social or environmental cause.
Okay, no, great. And so when did you first hear about SOUP, and tell us a little bit about what made you decide to start off one yourself?
Yeah, so this actually goes back to back at home in Aberdeen in 2016. I'd first come across SOUP on the BBC, on the news. Edinburgh SOUP had launched and had got some really good traction and had a couple of short coverage sort of pieces on BBC, and I'd seen that. And then I was at a networking event and met a woman there who we just got chatting, and at that point I was sort of trying to find out my own sort of path into the social enterprise world. I was trying to start my own initiative essentially. And we got chatting and she mentioned that she knew a couple of women who were thinking about starting Aberdeen SOUP or had things in motion to start it, but had just kind of delayed it for whatever reason. And this was in sort of October time, and she said that she thought they were going to be launching it sort of March. And so I got an introduction to those two, and after one meeting it was kind of clear that they had everything in place. So one of the women, Lara, was the owner of a cafe that we were going to host at, and then Elaine was kind of the driving force behind it, and everything was kind of in motion, but they just kind of delayed it for XYZ reasons. And I kind of came in and just instigated, why don't we just set a date and launch it and stop worrying about, having sort of a plan as such, just kind of go with it and just see who turns up and
just jump right in there.
Exactly. So we launched it at the end of November 2016. So it was about 6 weeks between me meeting them and us having the first event. So I was one of the three that kind of co-founded Aberdeen SOUP. I'm really pleased to say that it's still going. So they're away to have their 10th event at the end of this month. That was it was based off, I'd heard about SOUP based on the Edinburgh coverage. And I didn't actually realize that it's a global thing. So SOUP originated in Detroit in the US back in 2010. And since that has launched, SOUP has reached estimated about 200 locations throughout the world. Obviously some are maybe not active anymore. Like I know Edinburgh SOUP last year had to close down, for example, but it went for a good 5-6 years and had a lot of success. SOUP has taken off big time in the US and in the UK even more so. So there's so many places in the UK that have SOUP nights. But it's important to stress that it's not a franchise and it's not licensed out in any way. So while the basic concepts are the same, SOUP will be completely different depending on the location, depending on who's organizing it, depending on who's attending. Detroit SOUP have resources on their website, kind of like a how-to guide with just really basic principles as to why they are doing Detroit SOUP, and they do stress that it's kind of up to you to take this and run with it how you want. But they have sort of an outline as to what SOUP night could involve and give you ideas as to how you can get it going. Yeah, that's kind of how I heard about soup. Yeah.
That's cool. So you're running the Melbourne SOUP at the moment. That's coming up for its 4th one.
Yeah.
So take us through, I've just bought a ticket for $15.
Yeah.
Very thrifty. And then I walk in the door. What happens? What do I expect?
Yeah, so you'll walk in and you'll be checked in by one of our team and you'll be handed a poker chip. So we have these little white poker chips with our Melbourne SOUP logo on them, and that is your vote. So you'll come to use that later on in the night. Typically, so the event will start at 5. Typically we'll really get going about maybe 5:15. We'll have a little introduction from myself and Tash, who's the co-host for the night. And then we'll get straight into the presentations. So we have 4 presenters every time, and these are people with ideas or early stage projects that have a social or environmental benefit. And it really does range from people with ideas right up to people that have kind of got a bit of traction and are already going. And really from a diverse set of causes, if you like. So they present for up to 4 minutes themselves, and then there's a chance for the audience to ask up to 4 questions collectively. So we run through that. Then we have a slot in the night where anyone who's contributed something to SOUP, to the night, gets a minute if they like to stand up and speak to the audience and just tell the audience about what they're up to. And that's partly for people who apply to SOUP. If they maybe don't quite make the cut for this event, they can still contribute something and still be able to get up for a minute and kind of have a platform to tell everyone about what they're up to. And by contribute, I mean it can be helping to set up the event space at the start of the night. It could be helping to clear up at the end of the night. It can be just general sort of running the night with us, lending a spare pair of hands. It could be baking a cake. So we've had that for 3 events so far, where somebody's donated a treat, and then we kind of serve that off later in the evening. So yeah, we have that slot for a few of those people to get up, and then we go into having the soup. So it's just a general sort of 20 minutes for everyone to sort of mingle, to get a bowl of soup and to vote. So that poker chip that I mentioned, we have 4 jars kind of at the front of the event, and you go up and you just put your poker chip in the jar corresponding to the presenter that you wanted to vote for. So after that, we then return and we hear from the team or the person who were the winners from the previous event. And they get up and just give us an update as to what they've been up to. And yeah, we had a really good, so we just had the 3rd event on Sunday there. We had a really good session with the 2 guys who won Melbourne SOUP 2. Really engaging, and they're starting a social enterprise where they're selling socks, and it's kind of like Tom's in terms of the model is buy one, give one. So you buy a pair of socks and there's an exact duplicate pair donated to somebody in need on the streets in Melbourne. And so they were able to come along and tell us what they've been up to since the last event, and also brought some socks to sell. So that was a really cool feature of the night. And then after that we have some live entertainment. So we have a local musician come and play for half an hour or so, and in that time we're counting the votes and kind of and then we're ready to announce the winner after that and just wrap up. And that's kind of how a night goes.
That's great. So there's one winner that takes home a prize full of cash at the end of the night, but are there sort of positive outcomes that have happened for people who have presented but maybe haven't won on the night? Have you got some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm trying not to use the word winners or winning, because essentially everyone who gets up and presents gains something from the night. So the first event we had a woman Shalene, who's starting up an initiative called Plastic Free Eats. And when I say starting up, like, this is just a side project on top of her 9-to-5 job. So she had a Facebook page and hadn't done anything with it. For example, presented at the first Melbourne SOUP, had someone in the audience come up to her and say, I kind of do freelance social media work. I'd love to get involved and help, and so she's had a bit of help in terms of establishing a social media presence. So that's been an example of someone who's gained something, although they weren't the winners as per se on the night. From number 2, we had Chloe is starting up an online community called the Young Adult Grief Space. So it's an online community for bereaved young adults, and someone who was at the event told their friend who couldn't make it along about Chloe's project, and it obviously really struck a chord with them. They got Chloe's details, got in touch with her and asked for her bank details, and actually wired her the equivalent of the sort of winning prize pot, the $750 from that night, and just gave her that there and then. And
amazing.
so yeah, that's just another example of something kind of unexpected and unpredictable that kind of happens from the night. But all the presenters, we follow up with them a week or two after the event and kind of ask how it went from their perspective, what did they get out of it, and they all talk about just being able to connect with the people in the audience who are genuinely interested and engaged in what they're doing, and whether it's, you know, they see an increase on their Facebook page activity, or whether they have coffees following up with people, or whether someone at the event then connects them with someone else who's in that space. Yeah, there's a lot of things to gain from Melbourne SOUP and participating in that, and that goes for the contributors as well. So it's not just the 4 presenters that gain something. People who, as I mentioned, can get it for a minute, they are able to get people subscribing to their whatever they're up to, and just get general sort of exposure by participating in Melbourne SOUP. Yeah.
That sounds like everyone who buys a ticket and comes along, it's a great sort of affordable way to be able to give to really exciting new projects, and also have an entertaining night and a nice meal.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's fundamental.
Win-win.
Yeah, fundamental to what we're doing is just putting on a feel-good event that people can enjoy. For me, success, if someone comes along and has a good night, that is a measure of success for us. Up from that is someone leaving the event having had a good time, but also feeling a bit better about the world, or feeling inspired potentially. Yeah, there's all measures of success just fundamentally from putting on a good event. So that's kind of the core of what we're all about and what we're. There were challenges in terms of getting the word out there. At the moment, the big challenge is actually getting applicants. So especially community initiatives. So at the moment, most of the applicants we're getting are kind of what you describe as sort of startups, or kind of entrepreneurs that are out to start companies. And while that's great because they're all achieving social, environmental good, I'd love to see a lot more grassroots community groups get involved and submit an application. So for example, in Aberdeen, second event we had a guy who, he had a community garden and he grew potatoes, and his project that he came to SOUP with was he wanted to teach more people how to grow potatoes. That was it, and that was awesome. Like, that was really cool because he got exposure to a room of 80 people who'd never heard about him, and he got so much interest in coming along to his garden afterwards. And he actually ended up linking up with the team that won that night, and they went to farmers markets and did kind of sustainable veg growing at farmers markets, and he just kind of joined them for a bit. So that was a really cool example of what would be great to have out here as well, is that really grassroots early project that's community based. At the moment, we're getting a lot of sort of startup ideas, which is still great, because at the end of the day, the real focus is on attendees and just bringing people together and to hear about interesting things going on. But it is open to community groups and people who have just ideas and projects for their community. So
Are you looking for any help to for people to join the community or anything? Is there any other ways people can get involved?
I mean, we're always looking for help on the night to volunteer and contribute something. We've got a committee, a team of 7 of us working on this. So the first event in February was essentially me and a bunch of mates that kind of roped in to help me, and we quite quickly established a team. So we've got like a few working on sort of marketing side of things, a couple on the ops side of things, and then a couple of us considering sort of strategy and impact. I think in terms of a team role that I've kind of identified would be someone who's got experience with events and managing events, so taking on someone who can oversee on the night the event. At the moment, that's kind of coming down to myself, and really I'm finding myself at the events worrying about too many things and not being able to engage enough with the people who actually come along. So I managed to have little conversations here and there, but not enough that I really want to, because I want to engage with people, especially that I haven't met before, that are along at SOUP. I want to find out a bit about them, why they're along, what they're getting out of it. People that are coming back, we've seen people come to all 3 so far, and just while I'm having some conversations, I'd love to be having more. And so bringing on someone that could oversee the actual event on the night and just keep things ticking over would be great. So.
And so what do you sort of hope to see for the future of SOUP in Melbourne and Australia more broadly?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the future, I guess we can kind of look at Detroit Soup as a model. So they've been going for 9 years now. They still have their Detroit citywide soup that they run, but they also have 12 suburbs in Detroit that have their own soup nights that are totally independent, but also can feed back into the main soup night. So that's something that I could see happening in Melbourne for sure, in terms of having Fitzroy Soup, for example, or even something more broad like the Northern Suburbs Soup, and it being about local people that are in those suburbs, and potentially having the presenters at that then coming on to Melbourne Soup, which is a bit of a bigger pool and a bigger audience. That's something definitely on the radar. For me, that has to be run by people in those areas. So while Melbourne Soup could be a sort of provide marketing help and kind of get them established, I really would want that to be not run by like us as such. I want that to be run by people living in those suburbs, and working, living, breathing in those areas, and know kind of the local community groups and things like that. I think that's maybe a plan going forward, is to broaden it out and kind of reach more regional areas as well would be great. I was recently up in Bendigo for a social traders event, and I was just thinking like this would be, I'm pretty sure Soup would hit it off here just from the people I met at that event. But it would take someone in Bendigo to kind of, for example, to kind of get it going. I wouldn't want to impose it from an outsider's point of view, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So if people aren't already sold, what would be your sales pitch for someone to come along to the next Soup event?
They're fun evenings is first and foremost. It's a Sunday evening, something a bit different. You're going to get fed, you're going to hear a bit of live music, you're going to hear 4 really interesting presenters, and you're going to get to contribute. So just by buying a ticket, you're already contributing to this bottom-up change that we're trying to push forward. So that's kind of, it's a really good fun event, really wholesome, family friendly, and we're building a sense of community with them, with people especially coming to a few now. Had a few people on the way out at Soup 3 asking more details about Soup 4, and I'll be there, I'll see you there. So that's really positive as well. So
So we'll put up all of the details about how to apply if you have a project that you want to present at one of the Soup events. We'll have a link to how you can buy a ticket to the next event, and also a link to the Facebook page, which would probably be the best way to get in contact with you.
At the moment we do have a website, melbournesoup.com, but it's kind of early stages, and that's kind of just soft launched. So Facebook's the main way that we're getting out to people, the Facebook event as well. And just everyone that hits going or interested on the Facebook event, it then comes up on other people's news feeds. So really that organic growth is the way that we're going.
Gets the word out there.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, just one completely random question that I like to ask all the people I interview. What would be the best gift you've ever given or received?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. So I was teaching English in Thailand a few years ago, and at the end of my sort of summer there, I was inundated with a bunch of gifts. So they really went out their way to providing me with some like football tops, and there was like a basketball, which some of them were really impractical. Like I couldn't take stuff home, so I just gave it back to school. But the thought was all there. I got this really massive banner that, like wall to wall here, that was kind of photos of my time with the kids and teaching at the school, which was like, I took that home and I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. It's absolutely ginormous, but it's something that I'll definitely unravel in a few years down the line and just think back to it. But one of the gifts that I got, so when I was leaving, all the kids kind of lined up and kind of said goodbye, and this one little guy who must have been about 6 or 7 came up to me and handed me his rubber as a razor. And that was just so like I was a tear shed moment there, because like these are kids who basically have don't have very much, really living in rural Thailand, quite impoverished, and the fact he was insisting that I take this, so I took that home with me. It's somewhere at home in Aberdeen. So that was, out of all those gifts, that was the main one that kind of struck a chord with me, and is one that, it's just always a really nice humble moment to kind of think back to that and the connection that I kind of had with those kids. So
Awesome. Nice. And speaking of gifts, I've got just a little something for you to say. Thank you so much for coming along. It is, of course, a social enterprise company, the Ultra Eco Chocolate.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you so much.
Enjoy that.
Yeah,
And thank you so much.
Brilliant. No, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Okay.